Survivor Specialist Phil and Alexa are back, and tonight we are joined by Survivor Millennials vs. Gen X, a lot of other titles too. What was it, 4th place in the Heroes vs. Villains tournament? Adam Klein.
Well, okay, tied for 3rd in the male heroes or something like that, right?
Don't
Something
sell
like
yourself short.
You lost to Malcolm. That's not a
I
bad
lost
thing.
to Malcolm, and I was like, I'm gonna, campaign and like post this, and then I was so distracted by everything that happened with the whole Varner Zeke thing that I completely forgot that I was in the running for this thing. I didn't even try to beat Malcolm. I was never gonna win anyway, so.
I don't know, man. If you would have put up as much of a fight as you did with Mike, I think you had it in the bag.
Yeah, it was fun just to be like included on that. That was just to see yourself amongst some of your Survivor heroes. It's pretty cool. That was fun.
Yeah, man, for sure. It was pretty funny to see up there. They were saying like top 10 heroes of all time, and I'm like, hey, we knew that guy before he was on there.
I know some of the people were like, vote for me to like go back on the show. I know that I have no misconceptions that this was like a vote to go back on the show, but I imagine it's probably some kind of like market research or something to see sort of what people are thinking. Maybe, probably not totally meaningless.
Yeah, should we bring back Malcolm a 4th time or Adam a 2nd?
Or both.
Or
Vote
both.
now.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, so this is going to be our Survivor Game Changers episode 11 predictions, power rankings. And we're going to, we have final 10. We still have Michaela and Zeke both in. So definitely going to want to hear your input on that.
Well, so just so you guys know, I have not, I do every week, I do power rankings with Gordon Holmes from Xfinity. And I write those typically Sunday night, sometimes Monday night if I'm behind schedule. So I haven't done it yet. And so I have some kind of idea of like, I have a rough outline of where I think I might want to put people, but I'm open to be convinced. So I have not come as prepared as you guys always do for this thing. But I'll definitely put in my thoughts and then see where you guys think I should settle on all my picks.
Well, I think you're going to be a good middleman here, because on our last podcast, Alexa and I had a very heated argument about where Sierra Dawn Thomas is going to fall, and it turned into me throwing things. So I think it's going to be fun to hear where you come in on this.
What was your take and what was Alexa's take?
Should
Alexa, you go.
Yeah, so. Well, let's give him the whole argument first. Let's make sure to give him all the context. So Phil believes that Sierra has, direct quote, no protection. I said she has some protection. Phil says she has no protection. This is where the flying notebook came in. Do you think Sierra has no protection, some protection, a lot of protection? What amount of protection does Sierra Dawn Thomas have at this point in the game?
Okay, are we talking about within the game, like if I were out there right now and it were currently playing out, or based on the show that we're watching and like hints in the edit and things like that?
I'm saying based on being out there. If you're out there playing this game,
yeah,
Sierra Dawn Thomas, what is her protection in this game?
Very little.
Close
but there
to
is
no
some
protection.
But there is some.
There is not no protection, because look at who's on her side and how many idols they have. All of the idols are on her side. So right now, the Sierra side is far tighter than the Andrea side. I mean, the Andrea side is so fractured because they have Zeke, and Zeke and Andrea, that is very tenuous. So, it's better to be on the side that is, more tightly connected, and the side that has idols. So especially in a time right now where now those 4 are going to feel very threatened, and they're going to be worried that they're going to be picked off if Sarah stays with the other side. So that I would not be surprised to see Ty use another idol on Sierra or on one of his other allies, because if another one of them goes, then they're going to be in pretty deep trouble.
See, and here's where my thinking comes in with this. Sierra is the leader of that alliance, and Cerise said to Sarah, "You will not beat Sierra in the final 3. Like, it's not going to happen. They're going to say that you got dragged there if she's there with you."
Say that again. Who said to who?
Cerise said to Sarah, "If you get to the final 3 with Sierra, everybody's going to say that you got dragged there."
Okay.
So what I'm saying is,
right, Sierra has been listed as like the leader of her side, at least post merge. It's a total 180 from what we were seeing in the pre-merge, which made it seem like Brad was the guy in charge. At least that was my sense of what we were meant to be believing. But
now we're seeing a 180 where it sort of seems like she's the one in control, and Brad and Troyan are the ones listening to her ideas and her decisions.
Yeah, although it's according to the show, a very, they showed what Cerise saying, showing the exact hierarchy, which is Sierra and then Brad and then Troyan. So if Sierra were to get taken out, then it would set Brad back up as potentially, like the second in command to then take the credit for anything that side had done.
Yeah, totally. And I think like what's going to happen is Sarah's probably going to try to get rid of Sierra, but then she would be a fool to move forward with that other side because she's not going to beat Cerise. She's going to have a hard time beating Aubrey, a hard time beating Andrea.
Right.
Like, she's not going to beat anybody really from that side except for probably Michaela, at least from what we're seeing.
Right.
So, needless to say, I have Sierra at 10 this week. I think she's done.
I have her at 9. We're doing this again where we're going backwards from our rankings.
Yeah, so I have Sierra just in my rough thing that I've been doing, and let me pull that up so I have it in front of me. I have Sierra the lowest out of anyone on her side, but I have the rest of her side at the top. Or am I jumping ahead here? I'm jumping ahead.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Why don't we start from the top?
Yeah, that's where we're supposed to start.
All right. Well, I'm keeping the same number 1 that I've had for many weeks, which is Troyan. I just don't see him going home with an idol in his pocket at this point. He now knows that his side is, on the bottom, at least in the current dynamics. So Troyan at 1.
And that's the same one I have. Because I just don't see how he goes. He has an idol, and he's the least threatening out of everybody on that side. Like, they've made it abundantly clear that he's, like, the least threatening. And he'll feel it if they're coming for him, because they might be like, oh, he won't have an idol. Everybody else has him. We worry about Ty. We worry about Brad. We worry about Sierra. I don't think anybody's looking at Troyan as, like, a real player right now. But I think he's totally fine.
We also just haven't seen enough of Troyan to warrant, like, this next episode being his boot episode. And I watched one of his secret scenes. I haven't had a chance to watch this week's secret scenes, which is something that I do every week to try to help with my power rankings. I just haven't had a chance yet, but I will later. But last week he had a really insightful one, I thought, where he talked about intentionally staying under the radar, not being too inspirational, not being too much of a physical threat, not being the one calling all of the shots strategically at this point in the game. And, I tried to do the same thing. I failed a little bit because I got, it's hard to stay under the radar when you're caught in the middle of a food stealing scandal. But my idea, at the merge, I played as hard as you possibly can because I was like, I want to be in the majority at the merge. And then for the next few votes, I was like, okay, I landed myself in a 9-person majority. Now's the time to step back and let other people. And they showed one confessional, I think, in the show where I was saying that. And I think at this point in the game, the sort of not the first thing in the merge, but the early mid-merge, that's a really good strategy. It just makes it so that you're not going to get a whole lot of, screen time like, Troyan is. But I think it's a good play.
Yeah, I think I have him at number 1 also. And I think that is working to his advantage. It also helps that he is just very likable. Everyone seems to like him so far. And even though he just won an individual immunity challenge, I don't envision people viewing him as an immunity threat, which is such a perfect position to be in, especially in a fractured majority. But he has enough relationships with everyone where I don't think he would be in a bad position no matter.
Did we just lose? Oh, I think I just lost you. But
no,
yeah, I got you.
she froze for me too.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, and according to the other side's perspective, he's the least threatening from their side, so I don't see why they would go after him. I mean, Cerise said that it's Sierra, then Brad, then Troyan, so I don't see them going after Troy.
What do you think of Troy's chances to win? Because I feel so weird about the edit this season, how every big edit has gone out of the game already.
So based on the edit, what do I think his chances are to win?
Yeah.
Almost zero. I mean, anyone who how many episodes has he gone without a confessional? 4, 5?
At least 4.
Yeah.
Since the merge, has he had a confessional?
He had one last week.
He had one last week because he won he won immunity, so they finally had to like show him say something, and even that confessional, I was like, it wasn't even about him. It was about other people. So there isn't the content there to, justify like the moves that he's making. If he did win, they would have shown him saying, I'm intentionally playing under the radar from that secret scene.
Totally agree. So I think that if this side does come out somehow on top, if Sarah's smart, she goes back to this side anyway. And I think eventually if she goes back to that side, Troyan's got to be probably the GOAT right now because he's playing so under the radar. He might never have to play his idol to get to the end, and that's going to kill him if he gets to the end and never has to play that idol and never has to make any type of move.
From an edit perspective, I do think that, it's kind of similar to at the final 9 in my season, my side was in the minority, and yet in everybody's power rankings and everything, people still put the other side at the bottom because there wasn't an edit to justify Sunday, Will, Brett, and and Jay or Zeke being the final 4. Like the edit that wasn't going to happen. The more fleshed out characters in terms of the edit were on my side. So people sort of figured that they didn't know how it was going to happen, but that something was going to happen to shift the power back to my side. I see the same thing now for the Brad Sierra tie group. That's the more fleshed out side in terms of understanding the relationships within that group. I just don't think the other side has like the content or the character development to show that they're just going to run the table from here on out. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I almost feel like Troyan's getting the Ken edit, where it was kind of strong at the beginning when he needed to be shown, like finding the idol and all of that stuff and being on the bottom and like having that crying moment and everything. And then he kind of disappears for a little bit because he's not going to win and he's also not in trouble. And he gets all the way to the end, and it's just going to be a matter of who's he sitting next to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think Troyan and Ken are like totally different people in a lot of ways, but I can see what you're saying about the edit.
Mm-hmm.
And he had that one interaction with Sarah back when he was on the Tavua tribe, and we had referenced that so much as something that probably will come into play later on, just because it seemed very out of place. So I think, at least for me, I'm kind of still holding on to that one moment, waiting to see where, if Sarah does swing back to them.
Okay, the thing that I have been holding on to for I don't know how many weeks. I don't know how many weeks I've put Andrea at the bottom of my power rankings because of the scene with Troyan where he's like, I don't trust her. And I was like, okay, in the next episode, Troyan is going to idle out Andrea. In the next episode, Troyan, I put that in like all of my power rankings for like 5 weeks in a row. And Andrea's still there. And I love it. It's great. It's impressive. But I really thought that was going to lead to something. And then in the final tribe swap, they were on different tribes. So I was like, okay, maybe not. But now we're in a situation where we are potentially in a situation where Troyan could idle out Andrea. It's back in play. So
are you telling me my decision to take Andrea for my Eliminator pick is bad?
Yeah, I would say that's a bad decision. Is that actually your decision?
I have to.
Oh, Phil. Did you
mean?
Actually pick Andrea?
I think that's a terrible decision.
Here's my reason why. I have 5 people left. Everybody I'm against has 5 people left. And there's only 2 people who are ahead of me, And if I don't use all 5 people, I'm going to lose to everybody. So I'm making the move on.
Unless they get eliminated.
Well, I'm banking on Andrea not going this week.
Phil, who else do you have left? Name out your 5.
Through this.
I have Andrea. Now, I just want to point out real quick. I am talking to people who got eliminated the Malcolm boot, but
oh, come on!
You could have seen that coming.
Adam, you also had Malcolm. That makes me feel so much better.
Yeah, I had Malcolm. I switched. Oh, I was toying with Phil because I switched like 3 times that week, and I was making him crazy. And I was like, haha, I'm switching to this person, and then I'm out. And I'm like, God dang it.
Phil, that was a low blow.
I had to do it though. But I have Andrea
like 3 times that week.
Yeah, he had Debbie originally, which would have been a good one.
That would have been good.
But it was Andrea, Brad, Sarah, Sierra, Troyan.
Andrea, Brad, Sarah, Sierra, Troyan. Andrea, Brad, Sarah, Sierra. Maybe Sarah. No, she could be in danger. Troyan for sure, but he's probably safe next week. Yeah, you're in a tough spot. You could be out.
It's a fallback pick.
Here's my reason. I'm banking on Sierra going home this week. I'm hoping that that's what actually ends up happening, and then Andrea could go the next week. But if I don't use Andrea or Sierra this week, I feel like I'm in trouble because I feel like Sierra's been set up for a downfall. So I think she's going in one of the next 2 weeks, and I think you're right. This Andrea thing's finally going to play out, whether she gets idled this week or next week. I think it's coming.
I would be more confident about the Andrea thing than the Sierra thing. If I had to choose between the 2 of them, I'm putting in Sierra. Because I think that side is so fractured.
I'm going Andrea. I'm not happy about it, but I have to. I just feel like I have to.
What do we know? Yeah. Don't take advice from us. We were out week 3 or whatever. So
yeah, we were out a while ago.
Most predictable tribal council ever. I mean, I don't know why you guys see that coming.
And it was the edit. It was so obvious. Malcolm was going home.
Exactly.
Oh, man, I remember I was at a viewing party in Sydney, Australia, and I told the whole group afterwards. I was like, "No, that was my Eliminator pick for like the Phil and Will podcast or the Phil and Alexa podcast." Like, no,
the Phil and Alexa podcast. You're right.
Yeah.
Phil.
That's funny. Yeah, there you go. You got Phil and Phil. You were the first survivor on the Phil and Will show, and now you're the first survivor on the Phil and Alexa show. So there you go.
Adam, you have no idea how long it took me to be renamed to Alexa rather than Phil.
I was working on it.
I think Will has lost his spot forever because I don't know that anyone's going to ever want to compete with Alexa.
You snooze, you lose.
You know?
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
I guess he could replace Phil.
Adam, you want to replace Phil?
I feel like this is going to be the Will, Alexa, Adam show before I know it, and I'm just going to be gone.
I'm just saying, I think Adam and Alexa is a better ring than Phil and Alexa.
Actually,
you got the 2 A's going back to back.
That's a great point.
I'm sorry, Phil.
Let's tweet at us. What do we think? Of the 3 of us, who do we want on the podcast?
Twitter poll.
There you go. There you go. Hey, I'm out. I know I'm out for sure. I was reading the comments from last week. I'm done.
Yeah, we got hit last week.
I couldn't beat Malcolm, but Phil, I have a chance against.
I think you got a shot.
CBS is doing like a hierarchy over who should do this podcast.
There you go. I'll jump to my number 2 while I'm getting torn here. I got Ty at 2 because he's got 2 idols, and I just don't see how he knows he's on the smaller side. Ty plays so paranoid; he'll play an idol if he doesn't have to before he gets sent home with 2 in his pocket.
I'm gonna let Alexa go, and then I'll jump on that.
So I've got Ty at number 3. I have Sarah at number 2. Ty has more actual protection, but Sarah's got her vote steal, and she's made it pretty clear that she definitely intends on using it at the right moment. And right now, she's like the prettiest girl at prom. She has a relationship with everyone, and it's a real relationship. You actually see her having a relationship with Andrea and Sierra, who are on complete opposite sides of these 2 alliances. And she has found herself in a position where she can be the pendulum player or she can be the swing vote, but people want her and they trust her rather than being frustrated with her and everyone banding together to get rid of her. I think she's in an incredible position. She's somehow not even a threat, even though she's dictating all of these votes. And Ty I have at number 3. He's a very close number 3 because of his 2 idols. He has a lot of friends. I see them as one or the other, but Sarah I have at a slight advantage.
Okay, so I also have Ty at 2 and then Sarah at 3, at least in my tentative rankings. Phil, tell me why you say that Ty is a paranoid player and is going to play it even when he doesn't have to, yada, yada.
Well, here's my thing. I think Ty, and I read your thing, and I had said this in our podcast before you had posted that last week, I think Ty might be playing the best game out there. I just think that it's going to be so hard for him to convince people at the final tribal that he is playing the best game, because Julia, when we had her on, she said it was just exhausting. Like Ty just seemed like he was done. He couldn't get his thoughts together. But I think Ty is playing very smart this time. He played the idol right the first time. Yes, he had help. He has 2 this time, and I think he's going to play them right. I'm just saying that if it comes up where Ty hears his name, he's one of those players who would play the idol first before he gets sent home with them in his pocket.
Right. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, because I just hear a lot of talk about, like, Ty's so paranoid. Ty's so, he's like a loose cannon, or he's untrustworthy or whatever. I don't see it. I don't on paper, this guy is, he solidified his alliance with Sierra, Brad, and Debbie by voting out Caleb. He then solidified it even further by playing an idol successfully on one of those allies. And he's been super loyal to that group. So to me, I don't understand the whole, perspective of Ty as this flippy floppy kind of person. I will say Ty is not the best at articulating why he does the things that he does, but I think his instincts are really solid. Going back to Perron as well.
I think the problem with him is, and Alexa and I had talked about this, where she was like, doing rankings this season is really hard. How do you do them when you don't know the players? And I actually think it's easier to rank players and just look at the edit as a whole when it's newbies, because when it's the returning players, you're thinking so much like, what did Ty do in co-wrong? And we saw how much he went back and forth with Jason and Scott, and then with Aubrey, and he just kept on going back and forth, back and forth. And not that he jumped all that much, but it felt like he was always indecisive, and it felt like he was going to be jumping all the time.
Yeah, that's the thing. It feels like that as an audience member, and it probably feels like that when you're out there too. But really, when you really think about the moves that he's made, he hasn't really flipped all that much. I mean, Korong is probably the least fresh season in my memory, because it's the only season that I didn't watch every week because I was filming Survivor while it was airing. So I just watched it all at once, shortly after I got home, and I was in a whole other mental state at the time for other reasons. So, it's a little hazy to me, but from what I can remember, the only time he really flipped is on Scott and Jason, right? And that was a sinking ship. So he did the right thing probably to flip on them, because they were not going to be helpful to his game.
And in terms of the flip-flopping, he has been super loyal this season. And I like you said, Phil, I keep calling back to previous seasons when I'm putting my power rankings together. And that's what I keep referencing when I talk about Ty. But he has been super loyal. My fear for him is he is on a sinking ship right now. He is on an alliance that isn't sinking nearly as much as Scott and Jason were, but it is a little fractured now. And it is based on the preview and just based on what's been going on. Everyone is pretty scattered. So I do see more of an ability for him to move now, but I wouldn't say in such a drastic way that it went down with Scott and Jason.
But is it fractured? Because to me, Brad, Sierra, Troyan, and Ty are as tight of a 4-person alliance as could be, no?
I think they're pretty tight, but I think Sierra is definitely aware of how powerful she seems, and she was so confident last week, and I think she knows that she is now target number 1. I think she would be more than happy to go make a move and try to flip with someone else.
But I think Sierra doesn't have that choice. She doesn't have that luxury.
She has no protection.
She has some protection. Adam said there is a little bit.
No, and this is kind of it kind of reminds me of Dave a little bit, because Dave, while he was this huge threat and probably would have made a move if he could, the option wasn't there. The other side was not willing to work with him at all, because he was the biggest threat. They wanted him out. So, and I think it's probably similar with Sierra. I'm not sure that she has options on the other side. So when you don't have options on the other side, your only choice is to double down on the allies that you do have, throw all of your loyalty to them, and then encourage others by saying, you know, I can be as loyal to you as I am to these guys. That's probably her best play at this point.
Yeah, if she were to, I'm trying to think of who she would have a relationship with on the other side. And honestly, her best move would be to go with Zeke, because Zeke has made it clear that he'll do something big, and she needs something big. But past Zeke, I agree with you that it would be tough for her to sneak into there.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'll keep rolling my power rankings a little bit here, because I go different than you guys here. I have Sarah a little bit lower down. I have Aubrey at 3, because I don't see Aubrey as on anybody's radar. She's just playing the game. She's great with coleslaw and her hair and everything she's doing, but we're not getting much from Aubrey. And then at 4, and I want to hear Adam's take on what's going down with this. I have Michaela at 4. Okay. And I know that people are saying a lot of negative things about her, but Suri really likes her. And I feel like right now, to get rid of Michaela over Suri, Sierra, anybody like that, right, you can take Michaela to the end. What is your take on how Michaela is coming across right now?
You know, I love Michaela, and I know what Michaela's like when she is on the bottom, and I know what Michaela's like when she is more in control. And she is, you know, she is far more herself when she is feeling comfortable in the context of the game. When she's not comfortable in the context of the game, just like Suri was saying to her, you know, you can read it on her face. You know that she's not happy, and that unhappiness as a result of like her position, you know, I can understand how that could be seen as like a negative attitude or something. But from her perspective, she's like, these people don't want to play with me. Like, screw you guys. There's no reason you shouldn't want to play with me, because I am loyal, and I am, you know, I can be a good addition to your team. Or earlier in the season, I can be beneficial in these challenges. Why aren't you utilizing me? And that would be very frustrating for her. And I think Suri's advice to her is good, that she needs to be able to sort of lock that down and put on a happy face, even when she's not super thrilled about what it is that's going on around her.
And she hasn't gotten that ability, you think, because she played back-to-back?
I wish that Zeke and Michaela both had sort of called up people on our season before they went out and asked, like, hey, you know, if I were to go back, what do you think my like biggest mistakes were? Like, how do you think I should correct? Because they didn't have the luxury of being able to, you know, watch our season and hear some of the commentary and really, more than see it and think about it, but like decompress, right? And have some time away from it. And the same may be true of the Korong folks who left film immediately after their finale. But yeah, so, you know, they didn't really reach out, at least not to me. I would have given Michaela probably some of the same advice that Suri did at the merge. Like, one of the things that Michaela did in my season with me, like, she was she towards the end of our time at Millennial Beach, sort of trusted me, and we had a good working relationship. And she pulled me aside at one point and said, I really don't trust Michelle. And then Michelle came up to me and was like, Adam, like, what was Michaela talking to you about? And I covered for Michaela, but then I went back to Michaela and I was like, Michaela, you didn't happen to tell Jay that you don't trust Michelle, did you? And she said, yeah, of course I did, because they're closely aligned. Like, why wouldn't I? And I was like, well, even though Jay trusts you and you trust Jay trusts Michelle more. And information will always flow in the direction of who is most trusted. So even if you're his second closest ally, if you're saying something about his number one ally, that's going to get back to her. And so, she and then she was like, oh, I guess I can't trust Jay as much as I thought I can. So she was learning, I think, during our season about, how information flows and how the way that she reacts to people is going to come across. But she didn't get that full time after the season to really decompress from that.
Totally get it. Yeah. And it's interesting because it doesn't seem like you said, she has her one ally and then she has somebody else she's really close. It doesn't seem like she has anybody that she's really close with at all on this season. It seemed like her, Sandra, and Varner were kind of close. But then finally she gets Suri. And I think Suri's looking at it more as, if I get to the final three, I'm winning this damn thing. And I'm making sure I'm winning this. So who do I want to sit next to? The girl who's going to get 0 votes right now based on how everybody else is looking at her.
Yeah, and I don't think that the perception is totally fair, because I think probably Michaela didn't have any connections coming into the game, obviously, and so started out from that low position. And some people are really good at playing from the bottom, and Michaela is far better at playing from the top, because that's when she's at her best. And once someone has a negative perception of Michaela, and those initial negative perceptions, I think, are sort of came out of nothing. There's nothing necessarily that Michaela did to warrant any of that. But once that seed is planted and she knows that you think that about her, she's done with you. And then that's when it's sort of a confirmation bias, like these circles of you think this about me? Oh, well, then then she has a little bit of back at those people. And then they see that, and then it gets worse.
I think it's absolutely, like you said, a vicious cycle. In her most recent Tea with Michaela B video that she comes out with every week, she said that at this point in the game, people are barely talking to her, and her only time to really let herself out is during the challenges and at Tribal Council. And she's been frustrated at the challenges because they're not picking her. And at Tribal Council, she's eating her coconuts and drinking her tea. And she said that she's using that as a way to say, you're not talking to me, but someone is. I'm still here. I'm still in some weird silent majority. And it's become a vicious cycle for her.
Yeah. I don't feel like she's ever working her way out of the bottom, to be honest. I mean, she could get to the final three, but if she gets to the final three, it's because somebody wanted to take her there. I don't think Michaela's ever going to have control in this. And I think if she plays 5 or 6 seasons from now, she could find herself in a different position playing the game. But coming off of playing last season and then not seeing it this season, I just don't see her as ever being able to get out of that.
If Michaela can play Survivor and be in a strong, loyal alliance with people that she trusts, she can absolutely win the game of Survivor. And she had that potential with Sandra and Varn, with the Mana tribe. She was in that kind of position, but all of those people are gone. And so she just doesn't have those friendly faces anymore that are going to be loyal to her and allow her to shine like she can.
Yeah. Alexa, who do you have it for?
So my number 4, I have Aubrey, because I don't think she's going home. Like we've said, her edit doesn't indicate that she's going home. We're getting the funny Aubrey that us fans love. We're getting the coleslaw. We're getting the eyeballs at the camera, the double middle fingers. We're getting a funny Aubrey. And she is in this fractured minority alliance, but she read the Debbie situation very well. She compared it to her experience with Debbie and Co-Wrong. And that's part of the reason that Debbie went home. I know Sarah is getting all of the credit for this, but Aubrey read it well, and Aubrey conveyed that information to Sarah in a way that said, you can trust me. Clearly, you can't trust Debbie. So I don't think she's going home. She has found a way to still not be a threat because all of her allies have been voted out in a similar vein to what Michaela's going through. I just think she's in not a great position, but she's definitely not in a position to go home. And she's definitely a free agent. So if someone comes up to her, I think she'd be very interested in working with them.
My fear with putting Aubrey so high, and initially I did, but my brother was kind of talking me out of it, is that, and this is sort of what he said, that she could go in any episode and it won't be a surprise. And it's just simply because of a lack of development and content. She's clearly not the focus of the narrative of this season. She's clearly someone that I think production would want to be if that were an option, because she does give such great confessionals. But, I mean, based on how few confessionals she's gotten in this season, she's not the main storyline, and so at any moment she could go home and it would not break up the fabric of this, story arc, the narrative of the whole season. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense.
For sure. I think there are a lot of players who are still out there with a similar edit.
Yes. So I have a hard time putting her up really high because I don't know why she would be targeted next, but it wouldn't be all that shocking if she went home somehow.
Yeah, the only reason I have her as high as I do is because my bottom half are all 5 people I could really see going for various reasons. But with Aubrey, like you said, I don't know why they would target her. And I feel like right now, if Sarah is smart and she's really in this power position, I have her at number 5. Strictly because if somehow she plays the same game she did in Kagayan, which is what I said with Debbie last week, and she goes home. But if she plays the same game she did in Kagayan, she could find herself feeling the power a little too much, and then she goes home. I think she's going to play this smart. But I think that if Sarah is smart, she goes after Sierra, she goes after Sari, she goes after Andrea, or she goes after Brad. It's got to be one of those 4. If you're going after anybody else, I just don't know why you're going after them. You have so many options that I don't feel like Aubrey's name, like if she's your 5th option, really, like why are you going there?
Okay, so you guys might be convincing me on Aubrey. I mean, it's close. So in my tentative thing, I had Brad at 4 and Aubrey at 5. And so what that means is my 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all part of that original 6 or whatever. Troyan, Ty, Sarah, Brad. Which seems crazy based on the fact that they're on the bottom, but these are your fleshed out characters for the season. These are the people that, seem to have the season long story arc. So, but I could switch Aubrey and Brad. So I have Brad at 4, Aubrey at 5, but I may switch those.
I have Brad so much lower. I'm like,
I have Brad pretty low too.
I feel like if Sierra wins immunity and Sarah does stay on that other side, she's going after Brad.
If Sierra wins immunity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which she could, because she's proven to be really great in challenges.
Yeah.
And you don't think that Ty or Troyan would play an idol for Brad?
I don't think the way Troyan's playing this game, like he said, just get the final 6 and then reshuffle the cards. I think Troyan's holding on to his idol as long as he possibly can. Ty might do it, but if Ty's sitting there with 2 idols, knowing that there's 2 bigger threats than him, I think Ty's playing a much smarter game this time. If he knows there's 2 threats ahead of him, why would he give them one of his idols when he can save himself twice? And he's proven to be good at challenges, so he could win immunity too. He could be down in final 8.
To your ally is to shift the numbers back in your favor.
But the problem right now is if it is 6-4, which is what we're being led to believe with Sarah on the other side, you play 1 idol for Brad and he stays in, it's still 5-4.
But then you have another idol.
But Zeke is certainly not a reliable ally for the other side. So if you can get out somebody that is a reliable ally for the other side, bring in Zeke.
This is why I'm totally confused too, and I want to hear your opinion on this. We only have you for a little bit longer, but I just want to hear your opinion on this. The Haley boot, when she went, why did they do that? Because you just said they're clearly not a solid ally on the other side, so why would you get rid of them? You kind of could work with them. Why Haley?
I have no idea. I had Haley at like number 5 in my power rankings. Like I did not see that coming at all. So, I still am not sure. I had so many questions about that merge episode that I didn't feel like were answered. Like I just didn't follow the logic. I mean, I guess, from up above, like you could say, like it was a Cold War brewing and they didn't want to take the first shot, and this was just about which of the outsiders was going to be more on their side. It just hadn't come to a head yet. I don't know. I don't have a really good analysis for why that happened.
We didn't either.
Yeah. That was a bad recap episode. We had no clue what we were talking about.
Yeah, we were like, I don't know. Does anyone know what happened?
No, I mean, I think maybe that first merge boot was sort of looked at as like a first tribal boot where you just don't want it to be you. And so people are like, oh, that person? Sure, why not? When in reality, I think the merge boot is one of, if not the most important vote of the entire game. I don't know.
Totally. No, it confused me so much, and we just sat here. And then you're saying this, you want to get rid of the people who are never going to work with you.
We never saw why, how Siri was able to convince the other side to vote out Haley, because in the end, the people that actually cast the votes to vote out Haley were Brad, Sierra, like Troyan, like. So, I don't get it. If they wanted to vote out Michaela, they could have.
Totally.
Yeah, we didn't really see much of those conversations. Yeah, we were like dumbfounded.
When you if you get season 34 people on this podcast afterwards, you got to ask them about that vote.
Yeah, we're really hoping to
Haley
after
didn't
this.
Seem to quite get it in her exit interviews.
Yeah, and even like Ponderosa, her ex, I was trying to get answers, and she was like, I think it was Sierra, but I still don't know, which is crazy.
Yeah, very strange. That one was strange.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
But yeah, if we get some people on from 34, we will definitely ask. That's going to be one of the main talking points.
Number one question.
Yeah. Alexa, who you got at 5?
You want to jump in here? You want to say hi? Oh, okay. My brother.
Special guest appearance now?
I was going to try to get a guest appearance for my brother.
Oh, yeah. You got your dad the last time.
Phil's hoping it's Michelle again. But
Come here. Well, come say hi. Here. Here's my brother. Hi, Internet.
Hi, brother.
See, I remember names. Alexa calls him brother. I call him Evan.
Well, Adam said brother, so I responded brother.
we have it's okay because we have Phil and Phil in.
You also called me Internet, so it's only fair.
Well, it's not just to you guys, right? There's, in theory, at least like 10 other people watching.
There's at least a couple million, actually.
Million. Do you have any hot takes? Any big predictions for this episode? Who do you think's going?
I don't know.
Piping hot take.
The third idol. No, he won't.
Nice.
Is that your prediction? That's your big prediction?
It's not. I don't have.
All right, end the podcast. We figured it out.
I already gave you my predictions, and I heard you telling them.
All right. Well, I'm giving you credit. Credit where it's due.
There you go.
And then asking for a new idea.
Oh, that's true. All right.
Well, now we know. Ty finds a third idol.
That would be insanity.
Oh man.
We keep going. Where are we?
Is this the real Troyan? Is the real Troyan in here right now? Because we have Troy Robertson who just said, "Hey, Phil and Alexa and Adam, I just turned this
Get
up and
out
watching."
of here. What?
No way. Oh
Troy-
my gosh, and that's his same
Troy-
photo. That's his Twitter photo.
I'm sure it's him. Troyan.
Hi, Troyan.
Go back to the beginning, Troyan. I talked about you and a secret scene that you have that I thought was great.
We
And
talked
we
about how
thought-
great you are.
Yeah, Troyan.
Huge fan, so it would not surprise me if he were listening right now.
He's a huge fan of Survivor or us.
A huge
And us.
Survivor. He listens to he's he did the like Durham Warrior Survival Challenge and actually did because I watched his like season of that and he did the same challenge that he won.
replied again and said, "Of course it's Meg."
Yeah, of course it's him.
This is what we get for not believing him.
Oh no, that's different.
Hi, Troyan. We all put you at number 1.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Good thing we knew he was coming.
Yeah, that's somebody I'd love to hear his take at the end of this.
Yeah,
At the end.
Sure. Troyan, come on.
The Haley vote that we don't understand. You're gonna have to
What a
put
hot
this
take.
podcast,
This is my podcast.
for that.
Yeah.
Someone's got to get a screenshot of that. He just said, "This is my podcast."
This
There
is
you go.
my podcast.
Love it.
When he
We
found,
can't beat him.
We can't.
when
Yeah.
Troyan found that idol, that was on Millennial Beach, or what was Millennial Beach. And so my first thought when I was watching that was like, hey, this is my island.
Yes.
You can't beat me.
Amazing.
Could have been. Now we need the two of you on a season just screaming at each other whose island it is. Oh man.
Yeah, well, hopefully there's your answer. Maybe we can get him to answer the Haley questions at the end of all of this and get him on here, and that would be so much fun. Troy's answer.
Oh, that would be great. It'd be a dream come true.
All right, so we got what? We got like 13 minutes of Adam left. So let's get these power rankings so we can actually convince him. I've already talked about Sierra, but we're only like halfway through.
Yeah, I haven't done my number 5 yet, so I'm officially halfway through. I'm going with a piping hot take. I have Sari at my number 5.
Wow.
Which I'm sure is significantly higher than you have her, Phil.
Absolutely.
And 5 sounds high, but 5 is squarely in the middle, which is where I see Sari. It is mind-blowing to me that she has gone this far into the merge and no one has said, oh my God, Sari is in the top 10. We need to get rid of her. If anything...
Well, I'm sure they have. You're just not seeing it.
That's exactly it. Because we're getting a really positive, heavy Sari edit right now. We're getting a hero arc with her right now. And I think especially after what happened just last episode, she's not going immediately. I think she is still an immediate threat, but she has relationships. And her relationship with Michaela, she's very tight with her, but I think she's keeping that very quiet. I think her conversations with Michaela are very, very private. I think she's keeping herself as a free agent, as an open market right now. And I think that's exactly what she needs to do because she is one of the few extremely big names left, if not the only major name left. She's playing the game that she needs to just get by episode.
Here's another hot take to add on to your hot take. If it weren't for the fact that in the real life of the game, she is such a massive threat, and I'm sure they're all thinking that at some point we have to get rid of her. Based on the edit alone, I would say Sari could win this game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just worry for Sari that by the time she gets to, if she were to get to like final 5, she's not going to win immunity, and who is going to let her get to final 3?
Right.
That's what I worry with her.
Right.
That's the problem. Her getting from the final 4 to the final 3 is her biggest hurdle.
She has like a very similar to Michelle and Korong edit. It got bigger than Michelle's was post-merge, but she has a very similar where you don't go to tribal, you're just kind of staying on the, in everybody's minds, and then the merge hits, and then that's when your edit picks up a lot.
We saw a lot more of Sari's relationships than we did Michelle's, though. I mean,
oh yeah.
You saw the stuff with Ozzy, and then with, I don't even remember all of it, but Sari's had quite a bit of content.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And it came up fast, mostly because we didn't have much of a chance to see her early on, but we are getting a lot of Sari.
Mm-hmm. My number 6, I have Zeke, and this is my biggest question. Yeah, well, I have Zeke here.
That's high for Zeke, I think.
Ooh.
Really? Yeah, I think Sari or Andrea go before Zeke. And then I think on the other side, Sierra or Brad go before Zeke. I just think that they're targeting Andrea.
I have Zeke squarely on the bottom.
Wow.
Well, if the Sierra side is deciding, then yeah, that you're probably right that Zeke isn't the immediate target. But if the current majority eats itself, it's Zeke or Andrea. I mean. And Andrea is far more aligned with her side than Zeke is. So they could see it right now as 6 versus 4, right? Mm-hmm. And if it truly is 6 versus 4, then they are able to lose one person and still have a majority. If they're,
But I think
decides to lose someone, it's going to be Zeke.
I think the other side though could try to pull Zeke and Sarah, because I still think Sarah is somewhat in the middle. And if they can pull Zeke and Sarah, now they have the numbers. And Zeke would easily flip. I think Zeke is done with Andrea. He just had to do it. I think he had a great confessional last week when he said, I'm kind of laying low. It's the first time we've ever heard Zeke say that. He's like, I don't like it, but I have to.
Yeah. But there is a way that Zeke goes home in this next episode, and that's if the current majority gets their way and decides that they don't need Zeke.
True. Very true.
Yeah, I have Zeke at my number 10. So, Phil, this is where we really split on our power rankings.
Well, I have Sari at 9, too, and you had her at 5. So, I mean, I think Sari's in a lot of trouble this week.
That's our trade-off, I guess.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think about Zeke right now, though, Adam, with how he's playing? Is he playing pretty much the same game you saw Millennials versus Gen X, or what do you think?
Okay, so I haven't seen too many people talk about this, but the negative consequences of what Varner did to him, we know the effects that can have on a person's life in the outside world. It's dangerous. It's devastating. It's not something that Zeke ever asked for. And in terms of the game, it also has put a huge wrench in Zeke's game for a number of reasons. One is that people think that they might not be able to beat him at the end. So he's going to have a heck of a time getting to the end, even if he is able to lock into an alliance. But two, I can only imagine if I were in Zeke's position, how what Varner did would consume your thoughts. And, Zeke came out of that, and that's his real life. And now he's contemplating what is going to happen in his real life when he gets home. And for everyone else, they're probably thinking, that was terrible what Varner did, but I got to get my head back in the game, right? And they're not there to be there for Zeke. But Zeke needs people to be there for Zeke, because what just happened to him was really traumatizing. And so I really was struggling to try to figure out what the hell, why was Zeke going after Andrea? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, they knew each other before. I knew that they knew each other before the game. Mm-hmm. He talked in our season about how he had played Survivor Brooklyn with Andrea. So I wondered if actually Michaela knew that, because I knew it from our season. But I don't know if Michaela was ever part of that conversation when we were talking about Brooklyn. Anyway, I was like, why is he going after his closest ally? And, my guess is that it has something to do with, like, kind of still being a little, like, screwed up from what Varner did. Not trusting his friends, Varner was his friend, right? Like, as much as you can be a friend in the game, like, they liked each other, they got along really well, and then his friend just totally betrayed him in the worst way possible. And so he's probably thinking, which of my other friends is going to do that next to me?
No, that's a really good point. And obviously we've never been out there, but you have, and you had a lot of emotional moments on your season. So you understand, like, when stuff starts going down, how you have to react to it and how you can't trust anybody. So maybe that is what's happening.
I mean, he has no reason to trust his friends at this point. Mm-hmm. Just from an emotional perspective, like, that has to be incredibly difficult.
And I think that's something that Phil and I both completely underestimated, because at the beginning of his next episode, he said, this is a thing that happened, but I'm ready to get back into the game. And I think we took that very literally, because Zeke's the one who told us that, and we went back into the game. And mm-hmm. It's obviously nothing that we've forgotten, but you bring up a good point in that he's definitely still reeling from this. And it's not like he went home to the comfort of his friends and family. He went back to a cold, smelly tent,
right,
not a shelter, and had to play this game again.
Yes, absolutely. And I had another point and I just lost it. Anyway.
You made an excellent point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I just wanted to hear what you were thinking with Zeke's game, and that makes so much sense. Yeah, I totally understand now, like what you're saying, and it's yeah. I'd love to hear what Zeke says, like after he's out of the game, how this.
Here's what I was going to say. I think this is part of the reaction to Zeke on the internet and Reddit and other places like that, where people were like, more concerned with Varner's well-being than with Zeke's well-being. And Zeke is an incredibly impressive guy, right? He understands the power that he's going to be able to have on changing people's lives in the real world. And that's a huge responsibility, and Zeke steps up to the plate with those kinds of things. So he is going to project this sense of like, everything's okay, and maybe it is. I'm certainly not a mind reader, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't also still need like emotional support, just like anyone else would who's been through something traumatic. Just because he's able to like impressively stand up for himself doesn't mean that it's not nice to have other people check in on him and really be there for him. So the other players probably saw the same thing, like, oh, Zeke's okay. And maybe he was, but you have to imagine that maybe he also wasn't.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. That's a great point. Great points. This is why you need the Adam and Alexa show, right? Because of points like that.
Well, we need you to compliment us on our points. So
keep going. Keep going.
I'm really good at that. Well, I'll just Alexa, you have 3 spots you haven't said. I'll say the last 2 of mine. I have Andrea at 7, Brad at 8, and then I talked about Suri at 9, Sierra at 10. The reason I put Andrea at 7,
Brad at 8. Say it again.
I have Andrea at 7, Brad at 8, and then Suri at 9, Sierra at 10. And my reason for the Brad thing is because I do think the other side's going to end up on top. And I get the edit perspective, and that's why I still have him at 8 ahead of Sierra, who I think is being set up for the downfall. But I worry with Brad that this week I do think somebody from that alliance is going. So if Sierra somehow wins, I think it is Brad. But I do think, like you were saying, Brad has gotten a much better edit than that other side pretty much as a whole, except for probably Suri.
And why do you think Suri is more likely to go than, say, Andrea, when Andrea was just targeted the last tribal council?
Because I would say that right now Sarah is the one who's totally in control. And I think she's more – I think that maybe Andrea is the one who gets targeted there first. But I just look at Suri as such a big threat, and she's starting to let it be seen a little bit with like that emotional moment she had last week. And all of that, like I think people might like be like, well, we really can't let her get to the end. And I know that she's not like an immunity threat, but
we're still threat to win a jury vote, but not threat to win immunity challenges. That's what Andrea is, and we're still at the final 10. I think it's a little early to be gunning for someone just because they're a jury threat.
Well, I also think Suri, though, is the most dangerous player in this game. And I think a lot of people know that, and they've seen how convincing she can be. So I think somebody like Sarah might just be like, I got to get rid of Suri because she's already convinced Sarah of things. So maybe Sarah is like, this is the best player out here. And it's far and away the best player out there right now.
Yeah.
But I put Brad at 8 because I think that side's going to be the side that loses out this week. But I do think Brad has more of a chance to win this game based on editing than Sierra or Suri, because Suri's picked up so late. And yeah, she's getting a lot now, but I think it's because we love Suri.
Okay. Yeah, I think you've convinced me to drop Brad a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Suri edit is different because she is just more well-known than the majority of these characters. So her edit can be interpreted differently than everyone else's. I actually haven't even given my number 6 yet. So I'll go down the line really quickly because I know we're tight on time. I go Michaela 6, Andrea 7, Brad number 8, Sierra 9, and I have Zeke at number 10. I know that Brad and Sierra are, like we've talked about, if one wins immunity, the other is the number 1 threat. But what I fear for Zeke is that he said, I don't want to play with my tail between my legs. I don't want to be a number. We know how Zeke likes to play. Zeke likes to play head on and aggressively. And I think we are in a situation where it is a relatively level playing field. And I fear that he's going to come out too hot, too strong. And in a similar vein to how Haley went out, they will all collectively say, wait, Zeke is playing very hard. Let's just get rid of him. Obviously, Haley wasn't playing the way that Zeke is playing, but I mean that in the idea of everyone can collectively agree we need to get rid of Zeke.
Okay.
I think you guys have kind of convinced me on that one with Zeke, because I do think that if both sides come together like they did with the Haley vote, that's Zeke.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's going to stick their neck out to protect Zeke at this point, except for maybe Sarah. And Andrea, I don't know that Andrea and Zeke are going to be able to go another vote working together. I'm just thinking back to my season when Dave and Zeke first heard that the other one was coming after them. They could not work together for one more stinking vote. And it resulted in rocks, you know. So Zeke is not the guy to shy away from a direct threat. And if he thinks that Andrea is coming after him at the next vote, then he's going to go all out after her, which is why I have the two of them at the bottom for me. So I don't know where I said Brad 4, but I'm going to switch that. I think Aubrey 5. Then I have Michaela 6, Suri 7, Sierra 8, Zeke 9, and Andrea 10.
So we have a very similar bottom, except I had Zeke way higher than both of you.
Yeah. I mean, I've been saying Andrea. I don't know how. I need to go back and look at how many times I've put Andrea at the bottom of my power rankings, but like it's a lot.
It's like all the time.
She's still kicking.
I don't think that Andrea is a good player. I don't like her as a player. I really enjoy watching her, and I think she's very impressive. And that's part of the reason why I keep putting her at the bottom is because I think these people are likely threatened by her. And then that thing with Troyan still is like always in the back of my head.
Troyan, do you have anything to say about that?
Andrea.
That's the thing with Troyan. He's always he's there. Like you start to forget about him, and then he comes back in. He wins the immunity.
Troyan, tell us what you think.
Yeah.
At some point, Troyan is going to vote out or idle out Andrea. It just has to. If that doesn't happen, then that scene, I don't understand.
Especially since we saw so little else of Troyan.
Exactly. That
sure.
if that is the case, then I think the editors are just like, let's screw with people.
Yeah.
Well, Phil and I had Sandra at the bottom, I think, for every single episode that she was on. So it obviously has nothing to do with talent or likability, clearly.
I had a lot of faith in Sandra. Like I had Sandra pretty high up in most of my rankings, like much higher than other people. But yeah,
hey, it works for a bit.
And you had told me originally that you would have worked with Sandra. So I think because you had a plan, like mentally, that's kind of what it was.
Yeah, I mean, she is loyal. Like she says, like, anyone but me. Like that's sort of like her motto. But is it really? I mean, when you're in with her, like you're in with her.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't try to jump in with Sandra like after the fact. You know what I mean? Like what kind of JT? Like you gotta if you're with Sandra, you're with her all the way or you're not. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. Like what she did for Rupert after Rupert got voted out. She's burned with the fish or whatever. They're not eating Rupert's fish. But with JT, how could you burn Sandra and then think that she's going to be your friend?
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like you don't burn Sandra and then, think that she's not going to like you.
Yeah.
And we have an update on Troyan. He goes, Andrea and I just sneak off and do another sexy photo shoot. That's all you get. That is awesome.
I love it.
We need more secret scenes.
That's great.
Well, Adam, you gotta head out, right?
Yeah, I maybe have like a couple more minutes. So if there were any questions or whatever, but yeah, pretty soon in the next few minutes, I got to take off. Were there any Any last things or viewer questions or anything like that?
Pretty much everybody was asking about Zeke and Michaela. It seemed like they wanted to see what you thought about all of that.
I think I talked about that a bit. I think I think they both have far greater potential than they're being allowed to sort of show because they just don't have the relationships. And part of that is probably existing relationships coming into the game. A lot of people, whether they admit it or not, have spoken to each other in the past, and there's some sense of familiarity there. And with Zeke and Michaela, they're always sort of kind of easy other people to exclude from your group.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the comments was Alexa and Adam should start their own podcast to compete with Phil and Will when Will is back.
Or I'll just do both. I'll do Phil and Alexa and Adam, and see who gets more views.
Take all your market share, all the millions of dollars that you guys are earning from this podcast.
It's insane, man. It's insane. You think you had it nice on Survivor. You should see what we're making over here.
Oh, yeah. That YouTube revenue stream.
Those ads, I tell you, advertising, it's a good business.
We got the next Mari Takahashi's right here, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, man, I believe in it.
At least someone believes in us.
Yeah. Anything else?
I guess, I guess just on a bigger note, as someone who's obviously watched every season and has now played on a season, how do you feel about the season as a whole? Because we've flip-flopped back and forth about how we feel about it. So just what's your interpretation of the season? How do you feel about how it's gone so far?
I like it a lot. I think that there's been definitely a lot of exciting things happening. There's been a lot of drama. Some of it I definitely could have done without. It was obviously entirely out of place. I do think it's certainly the tone is more negative in terms of the players' experiences with each other, it seems like, at least pre-merge sort of, than it was on my season. But my season's sort of an outlier and sort of like how happy-go-lucky and like good sports everybody was. And I do think that there's probably a lot more on the line when people come back because they're putting their reputations on the line. They're putting their legacies on the line. They feel like they, were these great characters on these original seasons. And they want to live up to that, not just in terms of their gameplay, but in terms of their ability to bring entertainment to the show. I think people are going at it really hard. And some of the, unintended consequences of that are and this happens in every returning player seasons, but more hurt feelings, more negativity. But in terms of, there have been some great blindsides. There's been a lot that I haven't seen coming, and I'm if I may say so myself, as the winner of 2 bootless games, I'm pretty decent at seeing like some of these things coming, and some of these boots, like the Malcolm. Obviously, I was totally. I had him at like number 4 in my power rankings. Haley, I had at like number 4 or something like that. Debbie, I had at 3. So there's been more than a couple boots this season that have taken me totally by surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it.
And did you like? Oh, go ahead.
Just the last thing in terms of the surprising nature of the season. If the season does end up with Brad and Sierra's side and Troyan's side as like the final 4 or whatever, I don't love that you can sort of predict the final group based on the complexity of the edits that you've seen, which was definitely something that can be said of my season with my group. And I, maybe I'm wrong, and that would be kind of fun if it was like a mix of people from the different sides. And yeah.
Totally agree. I have one final question for you before you go. And I know you follow everything on Reddit and all of that. But my final question to you is, How do you feel about this podcast because of Alexa and Will having Millennials versus Gen X as number one?
I was going to ask that question too. Don't you just blamed it on us? That's a good thing.
I'm just throwing it out there.
You.
What's up?
Blamed what on you?
That it was number one. Did you see the heat we got on Reddit for that?
We got heat. We got a lot of heat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, you guys are idiots for thinking that season was your favorite.
I want to put it out there. Will is the only person who put it at his personal number one. It was my personal number two, behind Vanuatu.
Get out of here, Alexa.
Yeah.
We want Will
So
back.
where'd you have it?
I had it at 5, but I was just trying to.
You might need to get out.
I was appeasing the fans.
No, look.
He wasn't appeasing to you, Adam. I can tell you that.
No, look. Reddit is always gonna say,
It'll entertain.
I think that everybody's entitled to whichever seasons they like, and Reddit, if you don't like it, well, I guess you can write about it and say your own thoughts, which is exactly what they do. So, whatever.
So Mike dropped.
Yeah.
My favorite season of Survivor of all time is the one that gave me $1 million.
Are you sure? That's not your 13 or 14 or anything?
No, I say that my favorite is Pearl Islands and Cagayan because you kind of look like a dick if you say that your own season is your favorite. But who wouldn't say that their own season is their favorite if they won the season? Like, are you kidding? If we could repeat all of the seasons 34 times, I would want to repeat mine 34 times because that would mean I would get $34 million. It'd be great.
I can see the headlines tomorrow. Adam Klein is obsessed with his own season.
Egotistical maniac.
Go ahead, Reddit. Have your fun.
Have a ball.
I love it. So there you go. That actually helps because now if there was a Phil and Will versus Alexa and Adam, Phil and Will would actually have Millennials versus Gen X a little bit lower. Alexa and Adam, you guys got it at 1 and 2. So who would want to go listen to that nonsense?
That bunch of nonsense, I tell you.
No, you come to Alexa and Adam for the hot takes.
Typing hot takes. We're here to tell you that Debbie's going to find a 4th idol, and then Suri wins.
Well, Debbie had to find one.
Debbie's coming back.
Debbie's coming back. Cochran's going to fly her back.
Outcast list. One more thing that I thought was interesting about the secret advantage. We didn't really talk about the secret advantage from last week, but no, the team. I don't know if you guys talked about this or if I haven't seen anyone talk about this, but the team that won the challenge didn't really get a chance at that advantage, did they?
No, they didn't.
Did they go back on the same boat?
They swam out, and Probst brought that boat in for sure because he wanted someone to find that advantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he brings in the boat, and the only people getting on that boat are Michaela and the people who lost the challenge. So Probst kind of decided which half was going to have a chance at getting this advantage. How about that?
Ooh,
that's a great
I smell collusion. Michaela had
right?
Michaela had mentioned in her video, because I know a lot of people were speculating how Sarah could just sneak her way over there without people finding out. And there was an interview that came out that said they all have to go under the boat into that kind of blacked out area, as obviously as you know. But Michaela said that Sarah was kind of staring at her before they all went on, and Sarah swam over to her and said, I gotta pee. And then Michaela left. So that's how Sarah snuck in there. So if you want to drive people away,
strategy.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect.
Figure it out. I know. That was pretty cool to hear.
Brilliant. I like it. Thanks for that inside scoop.
my third party inside scoop.
All right. Hey, thank you guys for having me on. It's always fun to chat with you. I hope we get another fun one this week. I'm really enjoying the season.
Yeah, hopefully we get.
You're doing great. Keep it up, bud.
Thanks, man, and thanks for coming on again.
But Phil, you too.
Oh, that was to Alexa? Oh.
There you go. Adam, I'll see you on Wednesday for our recap.
But you
I'm gonna
guys
be
are
doing
also doing great.
I'm going to be doing a podcast alone. It's just going to be me sitting here. Troyzan's going to be in the comment section. It's just going to be me sitting here
It's gonna
talking
be
to
Phil and
Troyzan.
Troyzan talking to each other.
Oh man, that's so good.
All right, thanks for coming on, Adam. It's been great having you.
Thank you guys. Thanks
Thanks a lot,
everybody
man.
who's been listening, and I'll see you guys next season. Probably we'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Absolutely.
All right.
Good.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Hi, Adam.
Bye.
So we're going to hang out a little bit longer.
So what do you want to talk about? I'm bored.
Yeah, Adam had to go real quick. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the podcast, and I kind of felt like an ass. I was supposed to say Adam only has an hour, and I totally forgot. And then we're like a half hour in. I'm like, oh, crap. We're not even halfway through the power rankings. And I'm about to say, like, we only have a half hour left, but I never prefaced with this. But Adam had told us beforehand, so that wasn't sudden. Adam's the man.
Little do you all know that Phil and I have unlimited amounts of time to keep blabbing to you.
Yeah, right? Unlimited amounts of time. Now you're going to make this go on forever. This was a special occasion. We got all of that out there. We got Adam on, all of that fun stuff. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to update the boot list. We're going to update the prop bet. We're going to update the fantasy games. Do I say the bad words here, Alexa? Do I say the bad words?
The bad words? What? I don't know what these bad words are.
I don't know if we're going to do comments. I don't know.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
you said it. Yeah, I think. Well, I think that's perfectly fine. We had an awesome special guest just come on, and obviously we did get a lot of comments. But I did see in the live chat that some people were okay with us forgoing the comments for talking to Adam.
Because we had Adam, we got Troyzan just all over the place, which is awesome. Comments
Literally
comments.
all over the place.
Think about this. Instead of getting our input on the comments, you got Adam telling you what he actually thought of like Michaela and Zeke, who he personally knows. We don't know Michaela or Zeke. So
yeah, you guys don't actually care what we think. Adam is far more important than us.
You're really hyping up the Alexa and Adam podcast.
It's going to be awesome. I'm just saying. Tune in Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. I'm looking at the live chat right now, and I just have to say
I know what you're going to comment on.
These two comments, because they're absolutely perfect. Number one from Shea T. Phil has to watch The Leftovers. I absolutely do. Number two, did Alexa get dressed up for Adam? Not only did she get dressed up, she did her hair for Adam.
I was waiting for someone to comment on this. So, as I'm sure some of you have noticed, I've been in dire need of a haircut. And so earlier this weekend, I was thinking, I have some free time. Let's go get a haircut. And I'm getting my haircut, and I'm thinking, oh, crap. We're talking to Adam tonight, and I'm going to get so much flack for getting my hair did for him. And you know what? We had a guest. Had to make sure someone looked nice for him.
I look
and
exactly
it was clearly me.
Always. I used to work at a pool company, and I'm wearing their shirt right now. There's a
Brought
shirt
to
I
you
used
by
to
VP Pools.
Yeah, it's Vecchio Pools. I'm going to tell him now, and he better pay us money for sponsoring. But I used to work for that company. I'm wearing a shirt that I've worked in before. So, yeah, like I really dressed up for this.
Yeah, well, fine. I dressed up for Adam. Whatever.
Hey, you knew that
Phil,
this was really an audition.
I don't dress up for you.
No, obviously.
I would never do such a thing. All right, I'm glad someone brought that up because I was waiting for someone to mention it.
Yeah. Wow, the makeup threw me off, says the TV doing.
Oh, I'm not even wearing makeup.
Sure, you're not, Alexa.
I mean, that was probably not an okay thing to say online. I whatever. Dug a hole.
No wonder you look ridiculous. All right, so let's update.
You guys didn't notice Phil's eyeshadow? He put a little more on than usual.
Yeah, normal. Yeah, exactly. I put on a little bit more fake beard than I normally put on. All right. So I'm gonna update these boot lists, these prop bets, all that fun stuff. Boot list. Alexa's winning with 49 points, but she also has Sari at 19th and like somebody and Aubrey at like 18th. So Alexa's screwed. But
let me have this.
Yeah, for right now, she's in first with 49. I have 52. Will has 58. Prop bet, Alexa has 14. Will has 13. I have 6. I'm killing it. I got Troyzan winning it, though. So, Troyzan, pull out the win. Give me the double 3. I'll get 6 points. I'll be right back in it. That's all I need. And then we got – I don't think I can get win immunity. I don't think I can get jury. I didn't get blindfold. Like, I suck. So, yeah, that's that.
That's why we're replacing him.
Exactly. Yeah. So fantasy game, I have 138, Will has 137, and Alexa, who 63% of people said had the best fantasy team, has 123 points, firmly 15 points behind Phil, who's in first.
Firmly.
Firmly. And I have 4 people left. You both only have 3 left. Our loser, our other tribe of Debbie and Sierra is gone. So lucky for us, they're out. And they didn't beat any of us. I feel like Alexa's getting some weird news right now.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm looking at my fantasy. It's like hanging up my wall. Will and I both have 3 people yet left, and you have 4.
4. And out of everybody you picked, Debbie would have probably been a better pick than your first 3 rounds of picks.
I just really I believed in JT. You guys complimented me on picking him first
because we knew he would stink.
Oh my God. We should have staked the draft.
Like we said, JT and Malcolm, they went out in very weird circumstances. JT probably wouldn't have gone out if Malcolm didn't go out at that. It was just really weird circumstances. All right, people who are winning the boot list. Julia Delbo with 8, Ginger Artist with 9, Sylvia Espinoza with 10, Carnivore with 12, Patrick O'Connor with 12, Brittany Navis with 14, Nippy Yippin with 15, Trey Alk with 15, Sax Machine 69 with 16.
Sorry, that last one was funny.
Prop bet, Kevin Smith, 19. Adam Klein, 18. Cam Grivis, 18. Tim McNamara, 17. Will Dank, 17. Tara Stacy, 16. Ben Feller, 16. Brennan McCarthy, Rob Leica, It's FVN, all with 16. Unfortunately, Spooky Elf has fallen off.
No.
The one we were all really
Spooky Elf, the second best name behind Wub.
Wub actually had a few Twitter comments on here, but we didn't do nothing with that. So all right, it's an hour and 20-minute podcast. It's a little bit shorter than normal. We had Adam, so that kind of makes up for our ramblings. We'll be back with plenty of stuff for the next one.
Lots of stuff.
It'll be fun. We got, Spooky Elf commented, no. There you go. So Spooky Elf is still listening too. That makes it even more devastating.
Sorry, Spooky Elf. Oh, Spooky Elf.
Yeah, we were giving Adam Klein the update on his prop bet beforehand, and he had no idea. He was like, "What? Wait, when did that happen?" He's so focused on the boot list because I think he thinks that takes more skill, and the prop bet is more of a little bit of luck. So I think he was really focused on the boot list, and once he fell out of that, I think he threw in the towel. But we give away 2 buffs for the prop bet and 1 for the boot list, so he could be getting another buff from us, and at that point. He might we're just sponsoring Survivor with Adam Klein at that point. So
Survivor brought to you by Adam Klein.
I will read one last comment. T-Rex. So Phil works for a pool company and a funeral home. He's got as many jobs as Debbie.
Phil, you're not a civil air patrol pilot, so I'm not impressed.
I'm just, funeral home, delivery guy, film industry. I don't want to get into all of it.
Mediocre podcaster.
Mediocre podcaster, third best all time. All right, Alexa, what else do we got? This was fun. This was cool. Alexa finally got to talk to a Survivor player. That hasn't
I know.
happened.
Yeah, this was really exciting for me, and now he's replacing you, so I'm going to be talking to him too much.
Yeah, exactly.
I was definitely fangirling going into this. I was kind of nervous, but Adam is super cool and very easy to talk to.
Isn't that shocking that somebody who would win Survivor is easy to talk to? Amazing, right? They're likable.
It's almost as if people like them enough to give them money.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Should I go into my whole shebang? All right, well, Phil and Alexa, unfortunately not Adam and Alexa, will be back this Wednesday after the episode, probably around 10 p.m. Eastern. Give us a subscribe on YouTube, on iTunes, at the Survivor Specialist, Phil and Will. Give us a follow. Tweet at us on Phil at Phil_and_Will. Hopefully someday my name will be relevant on all of these.
We'll think about it.
Yeah, we'll heavily consider it. So yeah, give us a follow, tweet, tell your friends, and we'll be back on Wednesday.
Yeah, and one last thing I want to add. I love the people who are new this season who keep on saying, who is this Will guy? Because we're Phil and Will. And people think I'm Will sometimes. There was a comment on our last video that said, Rob, I loved how you played on Amazon.
I know. I saw that and I was like, who is he talking to?
Probably you. I mean,
we are Rob Has a Podcast.
yeah, right. Oh God, now we're gonna get in trouble. We're gonna get sued.
Oh God, sorry, that was a blunder.
Alexa's getting thrown out.
Okay, now it's gonna be Phil and Adam.
Alexa with the Jeff Varner move of the century. Okay.
Oh my gosh, too soon.
All right. So we will see you all on Wednesday after I'm right again in the power rankings and Alexa and Adam are wrong.